And we're live.
Hello, hello. Good morning, Markell. I always love chatting with you. I'm so excited you're here. Hello, Tim.
Hi.
Hello.
And you two don't know each other yet, do you?
No.
Okay, because you're both such beautiful, powerful forces in social media. So I kind of assumed you already knew each other. But here we are.
I know, like, there's a Twitter handle, Futures in Motion, but that's about the sum of it. I mean, that's the... not everybody on social media knows each other, Christelle.
I thought we were all best friends. Oh, that's funny. Markell, I'm so excited to be chatting with you again because we had an amazing opportunity to get to know each other a little bit over the summer. But you have a beautiful story. You are a job coach. You have incredible tips as to how to move yourself forward when you are searching for a job. Can you tell us a little more about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Well, I'd like to kind of sum it up in saying that I activate hope. And so that could be in different parts of your life as you're healing from grief, but also activate hope in your career. And so I work with mid-career changers who are either re-entering the job market or redirecting their career in a more satisfying direction. So for many of them, it's the first time ever or the first time in a long time that they're really thinking about what they want to do. And sometimes they get stuck because they don't know how to move forward and what steps to take. And so I guide them through that process of understanding their options and coming up with a plan for making their reality into alignment with their hopes and dreams.
Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, you do this at the university level, but also in workshops and as a one-on-one coach.
Right. So I have a portfolio career. So I like variety. I have my business, Futures in Motion, and I've had my business for about 19 years. And I work with clients one-on-one and in group coaching. I have classes. I've got books and publications, lots of resources to help job seekers and career changers along their process. And I'm adjunct at a community college. So here we have community colleges, and I teach career planning classes and professional development classes, do career counseling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do a lot of volunteering in the community. So one of the organizations that I volunteer with is Soaring Spirits International, and I present at Camp Widow. So I help other widowed people who are looking for direction in their careers. And it's really cool to work with other widows. When we talk, like, gosh, you get it. And I'm like, yes, I walked the journey. And so it's been really satisfying to do that as well as a volunteer.
Part of your story, part of your story is exactly that. And that's what kind of launched you into a path of wanting to help other people in the same circumstance. Will you take us on that journey with you? What that looks like, what it meant to you, and why?
Yes. Well, I became a career counselor many, many years ago because I did want to help people. I wanted to help people find direction. Our career is a part of who we are. It's an extension of our identity, and it's a way to make a living. And I wanted to be able to help people in that. I have some innate abilities, but I got some training, and I just really loved helping people. And I was doing that for many years. And then I had different circumstances along the way, but I faced really challenging circumstances. I guess that's an understatement. Several years ago. Now I think about it, I've been talking a lot about it lately, but it's been almost 10 years that this started. I went into a whole season of loss and devastation. And one of those losses was that my husband passed away unexpectedly. And then I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so about 9 months after that. And that was a really hard season for me. And everything was affected, my sense of my identity, my career path, my ability to make a living, everything was just shattered. And I found myself at this place. I'm like, well, I have to make a living. I'm still young, but what do I do? And it was really ironic because I'm a career counselor and I had guided people through making career decisions for many years. And then it came to me and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then I'm like, yes, I do. I wrote a book on this. So I went to my bookshelf and I'm like, what would I advise one of my clients to do? And like, oh, this is it. So I started taking my own advice again. And here I am. So I discovered that I wanted to stay on this path, but I wanted to do it differently. And I wanted to incorporate more transformational elements into the work that I do. So mindfulness is really a big part of the work that I do. So it's about helping people navigate the journey with the tactics, but also helping them develop the confidence to go after their goals now and in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the I'm going to ask you boring practical questions where Christelle asked all the way she was. But what is the first thing that you try and discover when you work with somebody who you're trying to help in their career? Maybe somebody who's gone through that kind of similar life journey or some big experience. What is the first thing you try and discover that helps you to try and help them in their careers, so to speak?
Well, practically, the first thing that I want to discover is how clear they are about their goals.
Yeah.
And what steps they're already taking to move their career forward. And so I spend some time initially, talking about that with them. And that gives me a pretty good idea of how to move forward with them. And what I've discovered is that many people, I won't say most, but many people have a gut feeling about what they want to do, meaning they want to be happy. They want to have a nice life. They want to make an impact. They want a sense of purpose, but haven't defined what that is for them. Or maybe they do have a definition of what it is, but they have to work through the external expectations about what they should be doing. So we start there. I start with understanding their sense of clarity. And if we're working together, then there are different activities that I walk them through to help them get clarity and looking at their preferences. What are their career goals? Do they want to move lateral? Do they want to advance? Do they want to change industries? Whatever that may be for them. I help them. I work with really talented people. They're the kind of people where if you put them in a situation, they're going to figure out how to get the job done, which is great. But at a certain point, you want to do what you prefer doing. And so I help them sort through that, preparing for the interview, resumes, getting their LinkedIn profiles up to date, those kind of practical things we do.
Hmm. Have you found a different kind of challenge in your career in the midst of lockdown and working with the clients now?
Interestingly, the difference is in terms of the practical way that we're going to apply the strategies, right? So you're probably both familiar with and aware of, personal branding, networking is a big part of being an entrepreneur. It's a big part of being a professional in any field. And so how do you do that when you can't physically be with people?
Yeah.
And helping, my clients to understand what they can do and what it looks like in the virtual world. And so that's a little bit different, but the skill is still being able to connect with people. So that's a little bit different there. I found that, if people are making an investment during a global pandemic in their careers, they're motivated, and they're eager. And my clients are really, they inspire me. They're very, they're smart and they follow through and they trust me to help them. And so it's been really gratifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how much, you're a career coach in what you do, and there's a certain element of that is mindset and the rest of it. How much do you do in terms of helping them with just the practical skills of like applying for jobs? Do you do a little bit of sort of recruitment agent stuff, or are you purely like this is how you do it? And do you give them advice on things like interview technique and other things like that? How much do you get involved in the whole kind of recruitment process?
So I'm the preparation for that. They do their own on hands-on job search. So they look for their own leads. I help them. I support them with how to do that. And if I come across leads, I use LinkedIn as well. So sometimes I'm searching for my clients and then LinkedIn gives me leads too. Yeah. But, with my network, if I can make connections through my network, I do that. When we're working together in the job search portion, so most of the time they have at least some form of a resume. It may not be up to date in 15 years, but they have something to work with. And so we work on developing that, but really in a targeted way so that it aligns with their career goals and aspirations. So we do that. And I have someone on my team who is a recruiter, and I have other colleagues too. So I get advising and feedback on client resumes with that. And I help with wordsmithing. So I'm really good with wordsmithing, and I help them sound awesome, authentic to them, but sound awesome. I do a lot of interview prep. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I did a training, online training on interview prep, but I work with my clients one-on-one with understanding what to expect in interviews, and we do mock interviews. So I give them feedback on their actual interview performance. In between our actual live meetings, this is really tactical, but I'm available to my clients. So they text me and email me with questions about this. And, I talked with someone, a recruiter, and they said this, what does that mean? Helping them decode language and, those kind of things. So I help them. We get into the tactical stuff. So once we get the strategy, then it's implementing, the plan. And then we recalibrate and we touch base on that, and just to kind of keep them going in the right direction. One thing that, people sometimes don't understand or realize initially is that the job search is going to take longer than you think. Yeah. And so there's that time in between your prep and then when you actually start building momentum and then you actually get the result of the job, there's that time in between that you have to manage. And that's where the self-discipline and a lot of the mindfulness habits that we build come into play there to keep them going steadily until they get that job.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for your clients, either now or just overall in general?
I think it really boils down to that clarity and really allowing oneself to fully embrace the path that you want to take. I think that's really the hard part. And once you fully embrace your path, as you both know, everything gets easier. Then you know how to present yourself, what you want to present, what kind of people you want to be around, you know what companies and organizations you want to align with. So I think it's really hard. There's something that happens, right? When you're kids, you have the whole world in front of you. You can do anything. You can fly off buildings, you can save the world. And then reality kind of smacks you upside the head, and the voices around you sort of tell you what you can and can't do, and you listen to it. And then you get to adulthood and you still have those hopes and dreams buried in your spirit, in your heart, and you actually have skills now to do something about it. But then in your mind is telling you can't do it anymore. So being able to work through the noise, I think, is the hardest part for everybody.
Yeah.
What is the biggest transformation you've seen in a person from what they were doing to what they could become, so to speak? I mean, what is the biggest transformation that you've seen in one of your clients?
Well, the transformation really is an internal transformation that I see. And this is, when I know I'm doing good work. And I shared this, I think last week, but many of my clients are kind of like the jack of all trades, right? They can do a lot of things really well, but they haven't specialized in something. And so they have some challenges with that. And so I help them to sort through all of that to identify really what is their heart's desire. And there's a process that I take them through with visioning and all of the assessments and that whole process. And then they get to that point where that aha is, I'm not just learning how to get a job. I'm learning how to have a satisfying and meaningful career over the long haul. I'm building the tools that I need to be able to have confidence and clarity in managing my career beyond just getting the next job. And that's really the whole point of what I do. So when that light bulb starts coming on and when it clicks, that's the transformation. That's the thing. And I experienced that with my clients, and it's really wonderful because they can go and they can move forward in their future, and that's going to affect everybody else that they interact with. That confidence, that clarity is going to affect everyone else that they interact with moving forward, and it's enriching their lives.
I want to. Oh, am I getting feedback? Do you hear that?
I think it's gone now. Just ask the question.
I want to ask a scenario type question.
Okay.
And what would you say? That noise threw me off, and I'm having.
I'm sorry, my thought is like, am I back in grad school?
Yeah, Christelle wants to ask how she can become a llama farmer.
Markell, I'm having an ADHD moment. What would you say? Hi, Jenny. I wanted to ask a scenario question. I think.
Okay.
But let me start with this. There's a lot of talk about failure and what failure can teach you. What would you say about that? Because I hear it all the time. Failure is your teacher. Is that true? And what would your input be in that capacity?
Okay. Well, so failure is such a harsh word, and we have a hard time embracing that term. I think conceptually it's true, but I think about it a little bit differently.
Okay.
I think that the learning is in the trying and in the doing. And one of my, quotes that I say all the time is clarity comes through action. So if you don't take action, you're not going to learn anything. And so failure is a part of taking action. Everything you try, we have these ideas in my head. Talk to my VA, Maria, and I have a ton of ideas, and look at my Trello card and my notebooks, and I have a ton of ideas, and they sound so great in my head and fully formed, and I write out my plans, and this is going to be awesome. And then I try it, and everything doesn't always work, and I said, okay, well, what can I do differently next time? Because I know there's a need, and I know that there's interest, but maybe the delivery, the execution could be improved. And so, but if I hadn't tried it, then I would never know, and I wouldn't take the learning. And there's also something that people say, fail faster. Don't spend a whole bunch of time thinking about it. Just take action and you'll figure it out. And if it doesn't work the first time, you recalibrate, you adjust, you refine, and try again, and you'll learn. Every time you do some take action, you learn. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Jen says failure is a hard word to use for sure. And that's so true. Okay, so this leads me into the scenario questions. A young mom goes through a divorce. She has no idea what she's going to do with herself. Now what? And the second scenario would be much like you or some other people in the situation. You find yourself with loss, completely stuck. Now what? How do you help people overcome those obstacles in their career choices and their career path?
Well, again, and going back to what Tim asked earlier, first we have to assess what they're working with, and when you're faced with a loss, whether it's expected or unexpected, but a devastating loss like a health issue, the loss of your spouse or partner, or the loss of a relationship, anything, a job loss or what have you. I mean, I think you have to, there's two components or maybe several components that need to be separated. First of all, how are you paying your bills? Like, what are your finances like? I mean, I think you can't think about career vision and hopes and dreams without being able to eat, right? So what I think practically you have to think about that and, get a sense of where you're at with that. Make sure that is taken care of. And then you can move into the bigger picture items. And it's a journey. It's not going to be something that a complete transformation is not going to happen in 3 months. This may be an 18-month, process for some people, or it could be 6 months. It just really depends. So once the practical matters are addressed, then we look at what kind of maybe skills and experiences the person has, what some of their interests are, some of the basic foundation, personal insight, kinds of things. What are their values? What goals do they have right now? What goals do they have for the future? What do they have working for them? Who do they already know that they can, go into when you're re-entering the job market, or you have to, enhance your employment quickly? Get a job. Let's get your resume together. Let's look at the job banks. Let's, connect you with the one-stop work source centers that we have everywhere that can get you plugged into local employers. And let's really get tactical there. And then once you get your foot back in, once you get that enhancement, get that foundation, then we can start looking further. When I work with the widowed clients, a lot of them are in the workforce, or they have had some professional experience. And so we look at how they can leverage that in a new way. I also make sure that my clients, if they need to, are getting more in-depth mental health support, because you can't launch a career transition or a job without that. And in some cases, so I make sure that is taken care of, whether they're currently in working with a therapist. I encourage them to continue, and if not, I help them find one.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned LinkedIn, and I know you're big on LinkedIn because I look at your profile before the how do you use LinkedIn, and how are you helping your clients to use LinkedIn to get job opportunities and to find employers?
So I use LinkedIn for my, personal development as well. So I have, I'm connected with my colleagues, my industry, and I learn and connect and engage with, those people. And then I have all of my clients connect with me on LinkedIn, and I share content that's relevant to them. But I also help them on the back end use LinkedIn to make connections that are meaningful for them and useful for them. And I help them use the job search tools there so that they can connect with recruiters. They can start curating their targeted job opportunities and content that's relevant for them. So I sit down, we do the keyword searching, we do the industry searching, we do the employer searching, company searches. We look at, how to expand their network online, and we come up with a strategy, personal strategy that they can implement so that they're curating an experience there that's going to be helpful for them professionally and in their job search. Mm-hmm. I help them with their summary statements and, building out just the practical. We do the practical and the strategic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your workshops, Markell. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with your workshops?
Sure. So I have a lot of topics, but I have two, really important topics that I do and I love doing. And one is about the visioning and, dreaming about the future. So the career visioning, type topics. And then I do the topics around job search. And, my perspective with job search is not like going after jobs, but attracting opportunities. And so I teach people in my workshops how to be in position and in the best possible position to attract the opportunities that they want, so that they have a sense of control, if you will, an agency in their job search, where they're not just accepting anything that comes their way. So those are the two topics: envisioning what you want for your future and how to attract the best opportunities. And I love doing the interview skills workshop. That one's always really fun. And I try to incorporate in, depending on the setting, mock interviews, like peer-to-peer mock interviews, so they can get real-time practice and feedback.
So what's the biggest issue you find, well, the simplest issues that you find people have when they're trying to with interview skills, for example, or anything else? What things do people do in interviews and in job search that they shouldn't do, and if they cut out, it will help their job search?
Well, one is clarity, and then when we move past that, and interviewing particularly, people have a tendency to be self-conscious and they ramble. They don't know what to say. And so we do a lot of work around how to anticipate interview questions and how to formulate clear and concise responses to that. And we use a framework. I use a framework, the STAR approach, and it's just a way to think about how to respond. And in preparation, I say, think about 3 to 5 things that you want to leave the interviewer about you. So at the end of the interviewer, you want them to know you're a team player, you're a great communicator, you've done this thing, whatever it is. And let's come up with examples of that. And we just do that on a piece of paper. And then we translate that into responding to interview questions. And we use the framework of STAR: situation, task, action, and result. And so by doing that process and then practicing it in that format, they have a lot more confidence in their interviews and they perform better. They report back to me that they felt a lot more confident, that they were able to get their point across clearly, and it helped them to build that rapport with the interviewers.
Jenny says, interview skills are so important. I think they should do it in schools.
I agree.
Absolutely. Career coaching in schools. I know when my boys left high school, they both said they wish they would have gained that real life experience, including things as simple as how do you write a check, or how do you open a bank account? How do you pay your bills? Just those simple, and that would include interviewing skills.
In California, and not every place in California, but I'm in Southern California, and I have been affiliated with different institutions here, and particularly the community colleges. They have something that's called dual enrollment, where high school students can take college classes. And at some of the high schools, they do have career classes for the high school students. And so in some schools and some districts, students are able to get that training. And then there are volunteer organizations throughout, everywhere throughout the country, I believe, I would say. And through those organizations, they do like Saturday workshops for high school students to learn interview skills, resume building. And many years ago, I did that. There's an organization called Inroads, and they helped early college students do that. And then they have programs for high school students. But you have to look for them. They're not embedded into the curriculum.
So it's probably my question now. We seem to be successfully alternating questions for a change.
I'm trying hard not to take over.
We've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to ask you one of my bizarre questions that I ask guests occasionally. If you had to describe yourself using 3 animals, which 3 animals would you pick?
Gosh, I never thought about that. Well, the weirdest thing what kind of animal? I would say maybe an eagle. It soars high above everything and I don't have great vision, but it has great vision to see,
Well, it's got eagle glasses. So we'll let that.
It soars really high, but it can, see very precise at a distance. So I think that came to mind for me, being able, the big picture plus the tactics. What else? I don't know if I would describe myself as a dolphin, but my logo, Futures in Motion logo, is ocean waves. And I like how dolphins, really glide through the waves. So I'll say that. And what else? Something, I'm not cute and cuddly, but if I were to go to the zoo, I guess pandas, they look cute and cuddly. I actually never thought about myself as an animal before.
That's awesome. Okay. You started the interview with speaking on hope a little bit. And I love to ask this question, Markell. What is your hope? Where do you find hope? Will you leave us with a bit of hope?
I find hope in, I can sum it up, faith, family, and friends. So really, it's about my faith is an anchor for me, and my relationships are the most important to me. And if I were to translate that, professionally, I would say, investing in the process, and trusting the process, and focusing on the people, and everything else is going to work itself out. So that's where I get my hope.
Where can we find you, Markell? Where can our viewers and guests find you?
I'm everywhere. I'm most active actually on Twitter. So you can find me on Twitter at Futures in Motion. I'm also on LinkedIn, Markell Morris on LinkedIn. There's my Twitter there. I'm on Facebook as Markell Morris, as well as, Futures in Motion. I have an Instagram at Futures in Motion. So you can find me. My name is fairly unique. If you type in Markell Morris in Google, I'm probably going to be the first one that comes up. Yeah, so I'm pretty easy to find online.
Thank you so much for being here. I always enjoy chatting with you, and your spirit is just captivating. So thank you for being here. Jenny, thank you for joining us and your input. She did say something here in the UK this week is Careers Week. So there's a lot of work going on alongside high school.
Oh, that's awesome. Here in the US, Career Month is in November.
Okay.
And so we have Career Month, Career Week, and Career Day all in November here.
Oh, wow.
Plenty of time to plan for that, then.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And you can hang around after we play we end the show if you want to chat to us. And if you don't, you just go.
I'm awake now.
Grab your coffee.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
This is terrifying for me.
I've made more money in the last 3 years than I did in the previous 7.
Cliche shit,